Overthinking is costing you hours of mental energy every single day. These are hours that you spend replaying conversations that are already over, building responses to problems that may never happen, running the same scenario for the third time with no new result. Now here's the core of what's actually happening. Your brain learned to treat thinking about problems the same way as solving problems. Every time your brain imagines a situation, a solution to a problem that may never happen, your brain is giving you a little bit of dopamine. And dopamine is the chemical that creates that feeling of productivity, of being motivated, of doing something good. And that loop keeps on running. That running feels like progress, but it creates nothing. And you cannot stop this just by thinking, oh, I've got to stop thinking. This instruction to stop thinking is another thinking way in that loop that doesn't end. You cannot fix the machine from inside of the machine. You understand? The way out is one of these two things. You either learn to observe your thought as just a thought, that's a technique called a cognitive diffusion, or you can move your attention somewhere else to your senses, what you're feeling right now. Both methods will interrupt that loop of overthinking without fighting it. Your brain is not broken. It is doing exactly what it was trained to do. Just imagine somebody running really hard on a treadmill, breathing really heavy, the legs going fast, and then they step off exactly where they are. They started. That's what overthinking looks like from the outside. You are putting a lot of effort, but you're not moving. You're putting a lot of energy. Nothing has changed. Your brain has one primary job: to keep you safe. And one of the ways your brain does that job is by scanning the threats around before they arrive. There's a change in the tone of voice of somebody, a message that could be read in different ways. Your brain catches all those signals and says, okay, let me analyze this more carefully. Maybe I need to prevent a mistake from happening. Does that sound familiar? This response works in real emergencies. The problem is that your brain does not always know when the emergency has passed or not. So your brain keeps scanning long after that situation is already over. And here's what looks like this loop in place. Your brain releases small amounts of dopamine every time that it sees a potential problem, even when that work is creating no solution at all. Replaying the same conversation feels productive to your brain. Building 4 different interpretations of one particular message, your brain is registering that as progress. The feeling of working on a problem is real, but the result basically is 0. That is why you can spend 1 hour on the same thought over and over and feel exhausted. Now, you cannot think your way out of that thinking loop. Imagine somebody just standing in quicksand with all their hands trying to climb out, and then they're sinking even faster. This is exactly what happens every time you're trying to fight your overthinking with more thinking, that you have to stop thinking. The most common response is this, that okay, that's too much, maybe I should stop, maybe I should relax. You have probably tried all of those, but it doesn't really work. Then you get very frustrated. Now, here's why these instructions never work. Because when you're telling yourself to stop thinking of something, you're still thinking about that something. Stop thinking about an elephant, thinking about the elephant. The instruction to stop is still there. So, what do you notice about this pattern? The most self-aware people find that loop very hard to break, because self-aware people are analyzing the overthinking, and that creates even more thinking. All that reflection is more mental activity that is directed at the same object. There's more loops of thought. So what you need is a technique that acts from outside of that loop entirely. Something that changes your relationship with the thought itself. This is where acceptance and commitment therapy will be very useful to you. There is a psychologist, Stephen Hayes, that developed a tool called Cognitive Defusion. Cognitive diffusion does not try to silence your thoughts. The goal of cognitive diffusion is to create enough distance between you and your thoughts so that you stop being carried out by these thoughts in an automatic way. So if you want to go deeper into how your mind works, how to build real clarity instead of fighting all these loops, just with your willpower, you can visit the link arata.se/done. Cognitive diffusion is how you observe a thought without being dragged by that thought. Most of the time, when a painful thought appears, you step inside of that thought. Like, oh, these people are so upset with me. Oh, I'm going to fail. Oh, there's something wrong. You treat that thought as fact. And when you analyze it, you expand it, you build more thoughts on top of it. The first technique is called naming the thought as a thought. Instead of stepping inside of that painful thought, you're going to add one phrase like, oh, I am having the thought that this and that. Instead of they're upset with me, oh, I'm having the thought that they are upset with me. Instead of, oh, I'm going to fail, oh, I'm having the thought about going to fail. That small addition is creating something very important. A thought is something that was created by your brain. It is not yet part of reality. So that sentence is reminding you of that difference. That is just a thought. So you don't treat it as an emergency. It doesn't capture you. The second technique, also related to the cognitive diffusion, is to name the loop itself, to give a name to that. Maybe you have now, oh, there's the rejection story, or the money fear, or the embarrassment replay. So when that pattern, that thought comes to you, oh, you say, oh, okay, my brain is playing that series again of the rejection story. You know that it is something familiar. You know that this is something you do from time to time when you give a name to it. Both these techniques will create distance between you and your thought. But some loops will return in a way that it's going to be more difficult. And when that happens, you need to be putting something else. You're going to be using your senses. That is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding method. That's how you're going to be bringing your attention back to the real world. Imagine somebody slowly opening their eyes, and then they notice, for the first time, the room where they are in, the chair they're sitting on, the light on the space, the sounds nearby. That shift of attention is exactly what we're going to be doing with this method. That's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding method. It will move your attention away from your mental loop and more into the physical space around you right now. How can you use it? You are going to identify 5 things you can see, name them slowly. 4 things you can physically touch, notice the texture, the temperature. Then 3 things you can listen to around you. 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing you can notice in your mouth, the taste. The reason this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding method works is very straightforward. Because your nervous system cannot be fully inside of a mental scenario and also fully present to the moment, to your senses at the same time. When your attention moves into something that you can see, that you can touch, you can hear right now, you're no longer inside of your head in that imagined conversation. Now you're finally present, you hear. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding method will not be solving the problem that you're thinking about, but it does solve that infinite loop of thought, the repetition cycle. And when you're able to break that cycle, even briefly, you get a window of a mental space. Then you're able to decide what are you going to actually do to move things forward. So, remember, your brain is not punishing you. What your brain is doing is exactly what it was trained to do, what it learned to do, which is to scan, to find patterns, to protect you. And this may be something that other people don't notice, but you do. So there is a certain value in you, but the problem is not the thought itself. The problem is that your brain has not learned that there is a moment that it's okay to stop. So your brain keeps on that infinite loop, more thoughts, more thoughts. There's an infinite conversation that you can not just make it stop. This is because your brain is receiving dopamine from imagining those situations, and then it feels kind of productive or useful to keep doing those thoughts. So the goal is not to stop being a person who thinks. That's not the point. The point is being able to understand this is just a thought. So what did you discover here? What did you learn here in our conversation? There is that technique. The technique that you will realize when you're getting too much inside of your head, you go and stop and think, oh, yeah, I'm having that thought again. And that will give you clarity. This is a way for you to step back. You can also use the grounding technique, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That will also put you back into the present moment, and then you have a new clarity about your thought. To be able to understand how your mind works, you can go to arata.se/dawn. So you stop being inside of your head and you start acting right now.